Hello, everyone. My name is Trish McCabe, and welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. This is a podcast where people from all walks of life will be sharing their stories and the wisdom they have gained from their life experiences. In no way is this show offering any kind of advice or counsel. These conversations will be of a very sensitive nature, so please be respectful in your comments, and thank you for watching. Hello, everyone. My name is Trish McCabe, and welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. Today, my guest is joining me again, Anna. Hello, Anna.
Hey, Trish.
This was something you and I came up with off the cuff because it's such it's a very universal issue topic of trying to grow and get better while you're raising children, and the difficulties, the challenges, and various tools that you've discovered along the way that you want to share with the viewers. So we're just going to dig in here. Right off the bat here, I think I'm gonna start with you had mentioned codependency and that you can be codependent with a child. I think this is huge. And I think we'll start with this and then we can go to the other notes that we took. Yes, I think that is, well, it's so true. And there's a lot of different elements to that. And that goes back to what we were talking about before with boundaries and teaching your children boundaries. That one comes to me off the bat. What are you thinking along the lines of codependency with children?
I mean, codependency with children can take many different forms. A mother, the stereotypical, a mother playing a guilt trip on the child. That's codependency because you're making that child responsible for your emotions. That's codependency. That's teaching the child.
Huge.
You're teaching the child that they're responsible for other people's emotions, and that triggers the codependency. Making your life, and please nobody think that I do not love my child, but you cannot make this child your entire world. This child is a big part of your world, but you also have to have adult relationships and adult time.
Balance. Right.
Balance. And, you don't need to complain in front of the child, about not getting a break or something like that. I mean, I'm a single parent. My daughter's dad is not around. And that's not her fault. She doesn't ever hear me complain and say, I just need a break, because it's not fair to her. It makes her feel like she's a burden, and thus it creates even more of the codependency because they're trying to not be a burden for you.
God, that's huge. I mean, what you just said is.
I hear so many mothers just complaining that they need a break. And don't get me wrong, I totally get it. You totally have to have adult time. Even if you just have one child, if you have 4 children, if you have 5 children, you have to have adult time. I totally get it and totally understand it. But the kids didn't choose to be here. We made those choices for those children to be here. And, having the child here that, because in their mind, they're going to take it as they're a burden, and having the child here that you need a break from them.
Go outside and play. That was my mom's. Oh, go outside and play. My stepfather used to mimic W.C. Fields. Get out of here, kid. You bother me,
Yep.
And they would say it jokingly, but, you felt rejected. I felt really rejected a lot.
Don't get me wrong. There's been plenty of times that I've been outside having an adult conversation with my mother, and the kiddo will come out there and she'll yammer for a little bit. And I'm just like, okay, baby, I need you to go back in so you're not in. I can finish talking. But I let her know why, hey, we were talking and we were having an adult conversation that you didn't necessarily need to hear.
And this goes back to filling in the blanks. This is where filling in the
Absolutely.
blanks comes from. When you don't explain to your children the things that you're
Absolutely.
doing, they're going to make stuff up, and they're going to make it about them.
Absolutely.
Children tend to
Absolutely.
internalize things. So, this is really
They
lovely.
do. They really do internalize it. I mean, my daughter's walking proof of that. Her biological father is not here. She's only met him maybe 4 times, and she was 7 when she met him. So in her mind, and she's even expressed this to me, I'm not just assuming this, she's expressed it to me. In her mind, she feels like she's not enough and she's the reason he's not around. So, everything that we say to our children, it's like a hand that grips their brain.
It becomes their
And
internal voice,
it
their inner
becomes their
voice.
internal voice. Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, guys, I know it is hard to raise children. Single mom, 17 years old, got pregnant. I was a kid raising a kid. I know it's hard, but the important thing is that you realize where you need to grow, and you also integrate that in with your child on things that they can grow on. You see what I mean?
Gosh, that's wonderful. I mean, just what you said is so powerful. I was thinking of just that communication factor with the children and explaining to them
They're
why
not
you're doing what you're
stupid.
doing.
You may have to break it down on a lower level. Like if you're communicating with a 3-year-old, you're going to have to break it down to a 3-year-old's level. Otherwise,
Of
they're just going to look
course.
at you and be like,
What are you talking about?
And obviously, if you're speaking to a 15-year-old, you have to sit here and be like, hey, 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 come here, come back over here. And you have to push through their attitude and their mom doesn't know anything. You have to realize that they're going to think you're a complete imbecile right now, but one of these days they're going to pack you. You're going to be like, Mom, you were right. How were you
Yes.
right? What is this magic, man? Because I did it with my mother.
Me too. Yeah. And later now, I mean, I look at the things that mom used to tell me. I'm like, oh, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're young and you're just, yeah,
You
that's
10
the
foot
normal.
tall and bulletproof. Yeah, that's totally normal. And the thing of it is, you know, yes, we want to have adult relationships. And yes, we do have certain wants and certain needs that, as an adult would be nice to have met.
I think what you said is so great in that it's important to have balance, to have
Yes.
adult relationships. Many parents make their children everything, almost to their detriment, where after a while, it sets up, I think it's not good for your children either. It sets them up with this expectation that isn't healthy of
Yeah,
always making your time available for them whenever they
I'm
call you is not good, because then they grow to expect that. And when you do meet somebody or you start to create a social life outside for
Mhm.
yourself, they get hurt, they don't understand and so I think that what you said is really helpful in keeping the balance.
Yeah.
And also for the child to, you're also being an example for that child to have, what's the word I'm looking for? Variety, to,
Mhm.
I'm going to say something here. I read a book. I can't remember the title, by John Gray, the guy that wrote Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus. And in this book, he talked about, and people do this in their relationships in
Mhm.
general, any relationship, they'll focus on that one relationship meeting all their needs,
Mhm.
and it puts too much on the other person too. Shouldn't be
Yeah.
responsible to meet all those needs, including your
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And that your love tanks, he called them love tanks, need to be filled by different people. for it to be healthy, for you to be balanced and healthy. And
Oh,
in doing
absolutely.
this, your children see this, and that promotes balance
Oh,
in their
absolutely.
lives.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, by no means am I sitting here saying, "Oh, go run around, go chase men or go chase women and put your child to the side." No, it's not what that's not what we're saying at all.
Balance.
But you have to have that balance, you know. When I split up with my ex-husband, my mom would watch my daughter twice a month on Saturdays for me to go out and have adult time. I'd go out and I'd go hang out with my girlfriends, you know, or she will see me on the phone with you or on the phone with other friends. And she's seeing that because children have a tendency to believe that they can only have one best friend. And if you allow your child to see, and that is codependency in itself, believing that
Yes.
you can only have one best friend, believing that you only have enough room for this one person to be your absolute best friend and spend all your time with. That's codependency in yourself. So if
Yeah.
you do that, you're immediately teaching that child, hey, this is okay. But my daughter, she's seen me have a number of relationships at one time, friendship, romantic, acquaintance, business, all that kind of stuff. And I look at her today and she's got four really good friends that she does communicate with. Now, no, we can't have them all in the same room together because two of them don't like the other two, but she gets along with both of them. And she's even expressed to them, hey, I'm going to be friends with you, but I'm also going to be friends with this person. And that's important for a kid to understand because they need to know what you just said, variety.
Yes. Yes.
And it helps
And
to not perpetuate that codependent cycle as well.
just attachment, over attachment
Attachment.
to people.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, we could talk about attachment. There's a lot on that one, but it's a good one to think about attachment. I'm looking at some of the notes here, and we kind of brushed upon this the last segment, actually, last episode of the last segment. We're starting a new one here. Being honest with yourself when your child is wanting your time and you just don't have it to
Don't
give.
have it. Don't have it. Doesn't mean that you get to go run and go do things with other people, because that's showing the child that they're not wanted. But like if you don't have the energy to give it to your child, just say, hey, mom's just going to sit here. I just need to be by myself for a
Some
little bit. I
downtime.
do not have the energy to partake in your energy right now. We can talk about this later. We can talk about this tomorrow. Because that shows the child, hey, mom's being honest. She's either not feeling good or she had a bad day at work and she just needs to recharge or she's emotionally drained. And you just sit there and just be in your own space and
And when you
enjoy your
do
own
that,
space. Yeah.
the great thing about that is that you're honoring your boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
you don't end up having resentment towards the child or
No,
anyone else for that matter. When
no,
you're making sure that that self-time and self-care is also honored as much as anyone else
absolutely.
in
And
your life, including your children.
you're also teaching that child that it's okay for them to do the same thing. She's 15, so she's at the age now where it's like mom's not cool. Used to we'd sit down and we'd watch movies all the time and all this kind of stuff. Well, now, she doesn't want to do that. So if I go and ask her, hey, you want to come watch a movie with me? No, not really. Okay, go do you, baby. Go do you.
It's
I'm
so
giving
powerful.
her the option to have her own space and say no. And I'm not trying to make her feel guilty. I mean, don't get me wrong, it hurts my feelings that she doesn't want to spend time with mom, but she's not always going to want to spend time with mom. She's got to develop her own life too. So I can't sit here and be like, well, I feel bad that you don't want to spend time with me. You can just sit there and say, okay, I'd like to watch movies with you, but I understand if you don't want to watch a movie with me or however you need to look at it. But laying that guilt
Making
trip
them
on.
feel bad either.
Yeah, laying
They're
that
not
guilt trip
making you
on.
feel bad, and you're not making them feel bad. That
Yeah.
honoring that is huge. I mean, it develops such a strong bond.
And it lets them know that you're giving them the space to be them, but it also reminds them, hey, mom's still here. I'm still here. I mean, my child, she tripped out last week because my mom and I, 2 weeks ago, because I live in Texas, 2 weeks ago when we had all the snow and the ice, we were stuck in the house, and my mom and I sat there and watched all the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies together. So it kind of shocked her, like, really, mom, you're that old and you still want to watch movies with your mother? So
Aw.
it gives her an opportunity to be her, and it gives her an opportunity to spend time with her to figure her out without having to have mom all up in her grill.
And
And
that is just, that's really
it's
that's
important
really
because
big.
it teaches her that she can enjoy her own company.
And this also, when you as a parent are honoring your
Mhm.
time, you can do those things, um, working on your personal growth
Mhm.
and your
Yeah,
self-care, um, and that's a big part of growing. I think it's just
absolutely.
honoring your boundaries, and you're both honoring each other's boundaries, and
Absolutely.
it just promotes healthy growth. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I mean, my daughter's with me almost 24/7. I don't, she doesn't spend, one weekend over here and one weekend back at my house because her dad's not involved. So, anytime she goes over to a friend's house, I'm like, I miss her, but I'm totally
Oh,
going to take advantage of this opportunity to
yes.
just be in my energy and by myself, and go do things that I enjoy doing, like if I was going to go out, I would it would be a spur of the moment type situation, but it would be one of those like, oh, okay, you're going over there? Cool. I'm going over here and I'm going to go have me some adult time, and she doesn't have to feel guilty because mom doesn't get that, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
getting better at managing your
mhm.
time management.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
one thing that I think is really very closely tied with codependency, um, with anyone, but your children as well, is children are also responsible for their stuff. You're
Yes.
responsible for yours, and they're responsible for for their stuff.
Yes.
And I know I'm putting on the spot here, but is there a scenario that comes to mind when I bring this up, when I mention this
Oh,
with
there's
your
quite a
daughter?
few. There's quite a
I'd
few.
love to
She's
hear them.
15. She's 15 years old. There's quite a few. Um, there's been quite a few times that we've just been having general conversation, and like we're in the car and she'll say something judgmental towards one person and then immediately go into another conversation about how she's angry about somebody else being judgmental. And I'm just like, wait a minute, hold on. You just kind of contradicted yourself there, baby. And I would explain it to her. And then, she'd point the finger at me, just kind of totally deflect the situation because she doesn't want to deal with it. And then she's going to get angry, but she's going to blame it on me. And there's been plenty of times that I'll just sit there and look at her. You can be angry all you want, but it's not my fault you're angry. And I don't take that responsibility. I let her have that responsibility because I'm not the reason she's angry. I was trying to teach her something and trying to explain her something, and she got angry because she knew I was right and didn't want to admit I was right. There's other situations where she's procrastinated her homework, because due to COVID, I've got her doing homeschool right now. And, she procrastinates. So she waits too long to do her homework and she gets just completely overwhelmed. And, when I do sit down to try to help her, we start arguing and we go into a whole big old blow up fight. And, at some point I had to step back and go, wait a minute. Why am I arguing with my 15-year-old? Hold on. Wait a minute. So, now it's like, oh, you're going to be that way? Okay, I'm going to let you be that way, but I'm going to go in here. You deal with the fact that you procrastinated, you're overwhelmed right now, and I'm going to go sit in here. Come talk to me when you're ready, without the attitude. I'm just there. But I remember what I put my mother through. I did the exact same things to her. And children by nature are narcissistic because we as and it's not a bad
society.
as
There's
we
a
as
lot
a
of it in
society,
society.
yeah, we as a society, we expect mothers to make their worlds completely about the children. And when we do that, we trigger that narcissistic, well, it's all about me and I want my time, blah blah blah,
Yes.
and it also triggers the codependency side of it,
Yeah,
where we
always
make the
giving, yes,
mm-hmm,
pleasing your children,
mm-hmm,
and you don't want them to think of you as a bad mother. And so you're caring more about what they think, once again, rather than
mm,
what you know about yourself. And
absolutely.
children will use that because it's in society.
Oh, they
They will
will.
use that. You don't love me. Then you don't love me. And that kind of thing is like, no.
I
And
can't tell you
love
how many
is a
times that has
broad
happened.
word.
Yes, I
Oh,
cannot sit
yes.
here and tell you how many times I hate you. Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. I love you. You know, I don't take it personal because she's just
Trying to
dealing with
take
her
a
emotions.
tantrum.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
trying to tug on my heartstrings, but at the same time, she's also dealing with emotions that she doesn't quite understand. Um, so it's just like, okay, sorry you feel
Brings
that
the
way.
issue of, guilt. Guilt is
Yeah.
something that the narcissist will use, or narcissistic trait that we
Yeah.
learn to make someone feel obligated. If you don't
Yes.
do this for me, then you don't love me, or you owe
Yes.
me because I'm your daughter or your father or
Yes.
your whatever.
Yes.
That is codependency to
Yes.
the yes. And that's why I brought that up, because I think it's huge. That's you're growing and you're doing that for yourself, and you're also showing your daughter what that is
Yeah.
while you're
And
learning.
while I'm trying to break some of
Yeah.
my patterns, and I'm also trying to break some of the patterns that I listed in her because I didn't understand my patterns. So I mean, yeah, when they say that there's no manual when you're raising kids, boy, they were right. There is no manual when you're raising kids. And, my hat's off to anybody who's doing it by themselves. Obviously, I understand. But my hat's off to anybody who's doing it with a partner as well, because that's just as complicated as it is being by yourself, because you bring in that other person who has completely different viewpoints, and you bring in that
Mm.
other person that brings in all of their stuff along with your stuff, and it's hard all the way around. It's hard. And it's okay to still be growing while you're raising kids. Don't
Yeah,
let anybody
I'm
tell you got to
looking.
have it figured out.
Yes, and that I'm looking at the notes here where you had said it's okay not to be perfect. We were talking
Absolutely.
about that before. When you allow yourself that, you can also show your child that there's no such thing as perfect. Nobody's
Yeah,
perfect. And then making mistakes is part of
it's
life.
okay.
It's part of
It's
learning.
okay.
Like the
Yeah.
situation with your daughter where she procrastinated.
Oh
And,
yeah.
what was the result of that? She
Well, overwhelmed, and
set
I even
herself
asked
up to
her.
be under the
Yeah.
gun. And you said, well, you procrastinated, and that this is the consequences of that. And you're not making them out to be wrong. It's okay
Nope.
that you didn't, but you just have to understand, I'm not punishing you and telling you're bad.
Yep.
You just have to understand that because you didn't do that, here you are. And this is what procrastination does. It sets you
Yep.
up to not get what you want, what you were after. You have to be,
Absolutely.
but without condemning them, making them bad and wrong, and all of those things. Just
Yep.
it's a great way to illustrate to the child the consequence factor of action
Absolutely.
without yelling
Absolutely.
at them, kind of
Absolutely.
thing. And that we all do it. We all procrastinate. And I just think the way
Every
you
single one of
handled that
us.
was really, really great. You know, it just took it away from the character assassination. You messed
Mhm.
up, or you procrastinated, and you know, you didn't do
Oh, don't get me
that.
wrong. I have totally partaken in all the other ones. I really have. I totally have.
Well,
Just because they were,
we all do,
I
I
didn't
think.
I didn't know any better.
You didn't know. Then
So yeah.
awesome. And then, of course, going back to the growth part, you know,
Mhm.
you're growing, and so you're like, hey, wait a minute, I don't have to
I don't have
make
to
this
do
a big
that.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think for me, growing up with trauma, everything was a big deal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Everything, and I still have so much of that I'm working on, even myself. And I don't have children, so having a child, I'm sure that's exasperated. It's very
I'm going to be
challenging,
honest
I would
with you. I mean,
imagine.
even with her, even knowing that she wasn't even part of what I went through as a kid, I still, that fight or flight kicks in when she starts doing her arguing thing. And there have been times that we have been screaming and yelling at the top of our lungs at each other just because I wasn't able to check myself as well as I should have been. I'm the
And that
adult. Why do I have to sit here and argue with this child? But, we do it quite a bit. And it's just because you're still growing while you're having a child, and that's okay. It
Yep.
is quite all right. Because once you're able to admit, hey, yo, I think I might have screwed up right here, then you're able to sit here and go, okay, how can I fix it? And just because you did, even if I don't necessarily say that you did it wrong. It's just you did something that triggered a cycle within the child that you yourself have been perpetuating. So then it's like, oh, wait a minute, let's try to fix this. And it does make it harder, but it can be done. I'll let you know when I get there.
But I think that's also powerful, is it gives your child an opportunity. See, you're human, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Parents aren't supposed to be perfect. And think a
Yeah.
lot of children, and in society, it's like the parent on a pedestal, and not a healthy way.
No.
You know, it's providing a child with that opportunity of that truth of, I'm not perfect.
We're
I make
yeah.
mistakes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, or I didn't mean to yell at you.
Yeah.
Mama's tired, or,
I'm tired. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm sorry. I will try to do better next time. You
yeah,
know.
yes.
And it allows the child to sit here and be like, "Oh, mom can admit her faults. Wait a minute. Hold on. Why? Why? What? We're gonna go back to Boy Meets World on this one. I mean, look at Corey and Topanga. Nobody really prepared them for married life because they really only saw the good portion of their parents' relationship. They'd already had a house, they'd already had established careers and everything else. So when they went to college and got married, they're like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you're in this situation where you already have an established career and everything else and you're raising kids. It's not a bad thing. But while you're still growing and still trying to better yourself with a child, it allows that child to sit here and be like, oh, I can come up from nothing, or I can completely change my mentality, or I can, change jobs and make better money, or, I can still live with my parents and that be okay.
Absolutely.
You're teaching them the darker side of things, but you're teaching them that it's okay to be on the darker side of things. It's all right to be on this end. It's okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
As
And
long as
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I think this whole thing is just drives home that um parents even think they have to be perfect for their children.
Yes,
And I
we
think they're
do.
doing their children a disservice by not showing their vulnerable sides. It's
No,
okay to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is
absolutely.
truth. That's being real. And there's nothing
Absolutely.
wrong with being real, even if you're
Absolutely.
angry or depressed, or there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Absolutely.
life is stressful. It
I
can be
can't tell you
really
how many
challenging.
times my child has seen me break down, but it's not her job to pick up the pieces, but it at least shows her, hey,
Mom
mom's
has
human.
feelings too.
Mom's got
Mom
feelings. She's
gets
not a
hurt
robot. Yep.
and all those things. I think that what we're talking about here, and hopefully helping to move society in the direction of teaching children to be real, to be okay with their emotions, and
Hmm.
to uh, be okay with every part of themselves, you know?
Yes.
And if you as a parent are doing that, that allows the child to be able to do that and work with your emotions, because they're just every part of who we are. So we've just been taught in society that there's something wrong with them, like,
Absolutely.
I mean, if you lose a job, or if you get, and let's say you lose a job and you get in a car accident, all these things happen, you're going to be depressed. You're going to get
Hmm.
anxiety. And these are normal
Normal
feelings.
emotions. Yeah.
I mean, I
And
got into a really bad car accident. I had a lot of things happened, and, I got kind of given a hard time.
mhm,
I was told, well, you're lucky you didn't die. It's like, oh, so my car's totaled, and
yeah.
everything. And it just, I don't want to get away from it, but I'm just saying it just
It,
it
yeah,
allows.
absolutely. You're totally right. I mean, this past year, I lost my job due to COVID. And then in the process, I had several jobs that tanked. So, I spent 6 months jobless, not for the lack of trying. And, towards the end of it, I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, I just want whatever I get. I was very desperate. I was beginning to doubt myself. She saw quite a few anxiety, attacks, and she saw quite a few moments where I was just depressed because I had just gotten to the point where I was starting to lose faith in myself. I was there. And she saw a lot of it when I went through my divorce too, because
It's a divorce, like one of the most
yeah,
painful things a person can go through.
yeah,
And you're going to be upset. I think that that's a realistic thing for your children to see. I mean, of course, you don't want to like be toxic. You don't want to be abusive. You don't want to
yeah.
direct it at them necessarily, and you're not, but it's okay to like have these feelings
Have
and
these
for children to
emotions.
see it. Yeah. Then,
And
yeah.
it allowed her, because she was involved in that marriage too. The guy that I was with, that was the only father figure that she had really had at that point. He was her stepdad. And, we kind of got to do a lot of healing together, because there were plenty of times that we just kind of broke down and cried because of the divorce for both of us. And, I had to spend a lot of time reminding her that we didn't divorce because of her, because she took it on that way, as most kids do. Um,
Yes.
but I didn't allow her to pick up my pieces. I was picking up my pieces, and I was helping her pick up her pieces, because
It's a nice way to put it.
she's
It's
the
really nice.
kid. I'm not her responsibility. She's not responsible for me as far as picking up my emotions. She's not responsible for me as far as bringing me food, or something like that. I mean, she does now. If I'm sick, she'll totally, mom, you need anything, and she'll go and make it for me, or she'll bring me some food if I've been sick,
Aw.
because I got COVID during Christmas, so she was
Oh, that's
very
right.
she was very caring about that. um but she we dealt with our emotions together. I didn't hide them from her, but I didn't make them her responsibility either. And that's another thing that is very hard when you're raising kids, is to not expect that child to pick you up, because we have adult relationships and we have wants for relationships to work out. and we have wishes for this person to be in our life, and it hurts when that person's not there. But if we let it consume us, that child begins to believe that we are their responsibility, and that creates that resentment.
Yes.
Because, and it also creates that codependency aspect, because it makes them believe that they always have to take care of somebody else. Whereas, if she sees mom, getting up, going to work and picking up the pieces a little bit at a time, and
you take responsibility for your feelings, and you let her take responsibility for her feelings.
Absolutely.
And that's so healthy. That's
absolutely
really
and
powerful, actually.
I can't tell you how many times, because I went through a recent, I don't even know if we'd call it a breakup, we'll just call it a separation. And she met the guy, and she really cared about him, and she knew I really cared about him. So, I mean, she was just as hurt about the breakup as I was. But, she just, Mom, are you okay? I'm fine, baby. Do you need can I help with anything? No, you can't, baby. I said, the only thing that can help is me. And I didn't allow her to take on the responsibility for my emotions, because my emotions are not her responsibility. So it's important for us as parents to understand that our kids are kids. And even though mine's fixing to be, out of high school and 18, she's still a kid. She may look like an adult, but she's not an adult yet. And we can't let our kids take on our problems, because that strips their childhood away from them. And it takes away from what life already has in store for them, or lessons that they need to learn for their particular life journey. They're stuck learning mom's life journey, or, dad's, or whatever. So it takes away from their own journey, because they have their own journey that they have to learn, and they have their own pace that they're going to learn at. But if they're so consumed and so worried about the parents' journey, then it takes away from theirs. And it creates that codependency. I'm more worried about everybody else. And it creates that giving to their detriment.
And trying to take on something that isn't theirs.
Something that isn't theirs, absolutely.
And vice versa.
Absolutely.
I think that's very important. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up here. Is there, on the issue of growing while you're raising a child, is there anything else that sticks out to you that you might want to talk about today? Or we could always just expand later, but I think this is really cool.
I would really just say, just take it in stride. Remember that you're not perfect. Have no problem admitting that you're not perfect. And every day work towards being the better version of yourself, not only as a parent, but as an adult person. Because you do have to have that healthy balance. And if you don't have that healthy balance, then it ain't going to work, no matter what kind of relationship it is, child relationship, parental relationship, or otherwise. So absolutely. Always just healthy balance.
Healthy balance. Love that. Gosh, thank you so much, Anna. I love our shows. They're great. I know we're talking on some new ones coming up in the future here. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, it's been such a pleasure. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your journey and what you're learning.
Thank you for sharing yours.
It means a lot to me.
I learned from you, just like I learned from everybody else. And my hat's off to you, dude. That's all I got to say. My hat's off to you.
Ditto.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And I have a page now on Facebook. Anna and I have done quite a few segments that I think are just amazing. If you like what you're watching now, I encourage you to watch the others. There's just so much wonderful information. and wisdom that Anna has shared on these shows. And if you're ever interested in being on the show, you want to share your story, talk about a subject that's interesting to you, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. You can go to the Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks, my page, and hit me up there, or Trish McCabe. Or I have the YouTube channel as well, so you can hit me up there. And I would love to hear from you. Please put in comments, anything, questions you may have, and I will get to them just as soon as I'm able to. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Anna. And until next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye now.